Staying with the coverage around Archbishop Desmond Tutu, his family says he told them he was ready to go. Nicholas Masego, chairperson of the Desmond and Leah Tutu Legacy Foundation, says Tutu's wife is a bit relieved that he is finally resting. The anti-apartheid activist died yesterday at the age of 90.
So Auntie Leah she's calm and collected. She is surrounded by close friends, her children. All the love and support that she needs is right there. And obviously, it's a huge loss and tremendous sorrow in her life. But there is also a little bit of relief. Father was ready, and he told us. In the recent days, Mama Leah and I sat down on Christmas Eve and had a late lunch next to Father, and it became obvious that it was time, and he was ready, and we had to let him go.
All right, Unicef South Africa is also mourning the loss of the arch it called Tutu, a true champion of human rights for children. Senior social policy specialist Andries Viviers speaks to us now virtually. Thank you so much for your time here on All Angles. Of course, we know that the Archbishop was very stern about the rights of children. You know, that they don't, we don't carry on with this notion of children must be seen but not heard.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And as you say, he was really a true champion for human rights and for children. And has worked with UNICEF as a champion for child rights across several decades and in many countries, including in South Africa. And it's really a great loss for the whole world, for our country, but also for the children for whom he so tirelessly continue to advocate for.
And of course, the Arch was a firm believer that education is what will get people out of poverty, that all children should receive equal education. For those viewers who don't know, I believe the Arch, I was reading in his biography, that one of his parents was in fact a teacher in Krugersdorp where he was born. And I'm sure this also was born from the fact that he saw his parent coming back from work every day, having not been happy with the kind of education black children were receiving back in those days.
Yes, absolutely. And he was also, I mean, especially for children in war zones, he was quite outspoken and around what parents, or not parents, but they say that as often was not afraid to speak truth to power about what as adults we do, and was very dismayed with adults turning the world into a hostile place for children, as you have said. But also, I think his continuous advocacy for the education of children was also one of the things that he continues to advocate for, about that this is how their dreams will become true, and that they will achieve what they might achieve, and particularly on inclusive and quality education for all children in the world.
And Mr. Viviers, also, UNICEF is an organization that also plays an important role in the rights of children, whether it be education, safety, roof over their heads, etc. The Archbishop supported UNICEF as an organization a number of times, launching a book, I believe, at UNICEF House around 2010. He spoke at UNICEF in other countries as well, advocating children's rights. Was there anything that UNICEF was working on with the Arch, for the near future that you might continue, even after his passing?
There was nothing in particular now. Remember, the Arch have been retired from public life for quite some time. But I think his work, and we still appreciate, for all the advocacy he has done. But also, to recall the book in 2010, was actually dealing with how children can active role players, because he believed that children have the ability to bring communities together and to build peace together with everybody else, meaning the adult population. And that was actually one of the big things during that launch, around our children can assist in ensuring successful transitions from war to peace, and what we need to do to ensure that. But I also think as UNICEF, we will forever be in debt with the Arch for what he has done to make sure that the rights of children are protected as part of the wider human rights, and to ensure social justice. And I think one of the things that we will continue to take forward about the Arch is the fact that he was never afraid to speak truth to power, especially when it comes to the rights of the most vulnerable, in this case, where we work, children, women, and families. And I think that is how we can make sure that his legacy lives forth. And as UNICEF, I think that is one of the things that we will continue to advocate for and appreciate the Arch for, is that continue to ask people to live his legacy of social justice, human rights, ethical leadership, for every child, every family, and every community, because that is what he stood for.
You talk about the fact that he was fighting for children's rights, particularly for children who are living in war-torn countries. I can imagine how UNICEF feels and how he felt before his passing, hearing the news coming from Mozambique's Cabo Delgado, for instance, the fact that the war in Israel is still continuing. I'm sure that is something that was very painful for the Arch, especially in 2021.
Yeah, like we cannot say how the Arch have felt about it, but I'm sure your summary around that is quite correct. And I think this is again an opportunity to stand with what the Arch have standed for around that. Let's make sure that children don't become the victims of violence. That we don't turn the world into a hostile place for children, because that is the things that really upset him, and that he continued to speak out against. And he was never afraid to say that the world is not doing enough for children. When he was still actively working around human rights issues, quite often would speak truth to power and say, let's make sure that we do better for the children of the world. And that we need to thank him for trying every day of his life to make the world a better place for every child.
Thank you very much for your time here on All Angles and on eNCA. Andries Viviers, he is from UNICEF South Africa.